This is Mike. You're watching Real Black TV, and I'm with Charles.
Charles Woods here.
Now, you haven't seen this movie yet, but I had a chance this week to see another movie that's playing here at the 54th Annual New York Film Festival this week. Barry Jenkins' Moonlight. Just a beautiful, exquisite film, independent film, art film, LGBT. It's an excellent film.
What you looking at me like that for? What, man? Come on, you just drove down here? Yeah. Who is you, Sharon? For a long time, try not to remember. Try to forget all those times.
At some point, you gotta decide for yourself who you're gonna be. Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
You gonna tell him why the other boys kick his ass all the time?
What's wrong?
I'm good.
No, I didn't seem good. You ain't it.
It's Barry Jenkins' return, sophomore feature after Medicine for Melancholy, which was done in 2008. And now we're in 2016, and he's finally got another film in release, and it's just a marvelous film. I mean, we knew when we saw Medicine for Melancholy, which was done
Now you
like $13,000.
You feel that was a landmark film, right?
Well, that's a film that a lot of people that are involved in the current wave of, well, I guess you could call it new black cinema, or new black film revolution, as I call it. A lot of them point to Medicine for Melancholy as their touchstone because, it was shot for $13,000 on the streets of San Francisco. This is a two-character piece, love story. And, I think what was happening at that time, there certainly had been straight-to-video films or films shot on video, but around that time is when the technology got good enough for movies to be shot on video that could be shown in theaters and look like they were shot on film. So I think that was one of the films that people who, like Ava DuVernay or Tanya Hamilton, or her film was concurrent to Medicine for Melancholy. Justin Simeon points to Medicine for Melancholy as a key thing. Like people who had screenplays in their drawers for years, but didn't necessarily didn't know how or have an avenue to get them made, and didn't necessarily want to do the Master P straight to video route. I think that was the movie that inspired them, and I think this film is going to inspire people in a lot of other ways. It's a coming of age film. I'll tell you about it. So it's a coming of age film about a young kid named, he has three identities in the film. So he's little, and then he's black, and then I forget what the third name is, but in the different incarnations, he's played by three different actors. And in the first part, he's like 7 or 8 years old, and he's being bullied, and he has no self-awareness in terms of why the kids are always picking on him, but he has sort of an attraction for this other kid. And then you see it develop throughout the course of the story. And, at first, when I first started sitting down to watch, I was a little fearful because the very first shot of the movie is a drug deal. This guy is selling drugs in the street, and I'm like, oh God, we're gonna see this again. We're gonna see this again, But then it veers away from him and follows a kid. And it took a little while for me to realize that I was in safe hands, and that this is not going to be your typical stereotypical thing. It's about it's very deeply layered. It covers love, the need for love, and unrequited love, and from different things, and then also masculinity and black identity. So there's a lot of thuggish dudes that that are gay or have flexible, bisexual identities or whatever. So just like the beginning of the film, everything is not. You can't judge a book by its cover. I think this film, as a coming-of-age film, as a gay lesbian film, it stands strong alongside a movie like Pariah, and to a certain extent Blackbird, which was another gay coming-of-age story based on a book that Patrick Ian Polk did. So I think that there are people out there that are trying to fill in those gaps. They want to see the stories that didn't exist when they were kids, and I think that for a black queer kid who's trying to find himself, this is probably the most in-depth, most truthful examination of character that you're likely to see in an American film this year. Oh, the other thing about the film, Janelle Monáe is in there as so the surrogate mother character. Naomi Harris plays sort of the crack-addicted mom. I mean, this kid, if we talk about Queen of Katwe earlier, this kid is also growing up in some rough circumstances, and he's trying to find his identity and attach himself to something. And not everything is spelled out in the movie, and I'm certainly not wanting to give anything away, but I think that, like I said, it started off, I felt very apprehensive about where it was going to go and where it was going to take me, because so many films that depict that life or that world just show a lot of pain and damage, and this kid is so vulnerable that I was just praying that nobody took advantage of him in his course of finding himself, because he is being bullied. So I felt a little uncomfortable just because I just didn't want to see things that were horrific, but like Precious, that kind of stuff. So, but this thing is so sensitively done and centered, rocks out on this character, and the three actors. I forgive me for not having their names in front of me. Do such an amazing job. Almost like a relay race, passing the baton as you see this character evolve into this sort of full-grown but damaged young man. It's a really great film, and it's beautifully photographed. Music choice is amazing, and why does it have to take 8 years for Barry to have a chance to make another film? I don't know what the delay was, but I hope it's not another 8 years before we get to see another Barry Jenkins film.
There are a number of films I haven't seen. I haven't seen Precious yet. And there's a reason for that, because what I've heard about it, it took me a while before I saw Monsters Ball, because I didn't particularly care to see some of the elements in that film, one scene in particular. But war films, Saving Private Ryan, I haven't seen that yet. And I heard, the way that comes on.
Right.
So Brokeback Mountain, not a film I want to see. So this particular kind of film, and I haven't seen Blackbird, I wanted to watch it, but some films, and this is not saying, I'm not, I want to be very artful on how I say this, but there are a number of films and subject matter I'm not comfortable watching on a number of levels. But for someone who wants to see things so that my opinion is as informed as it can possibly be, these are things I need to watch,
Right.
But it just takes me a longer time to get to them.
Oh, I mean, I feel like, I read the comments, and a lot of people, they because of what we're accustomed to seeing in the media growing up, when you see a wider array of depictions of blackness or identity, or especially when it comes to sexuality. You know, a lot of people feel like there's an agenda to normalize gayness, and the fact is, you know, that there have always been gay people. It's just just like we have been excluded from the picture in terms of what the mainstream Hollywood system has allowed us to perceive ourselves as through the media. Now that it's freer, people are telling their own stories, and this is one of them. And yeah, it's very, you have to be cautious going into some of this stuff because a lot of it comes from a place of pain. And like Precious, you could say it's very truthful, but it's also, it's a painful movie to watch because it depicts, you know, black life or black people at sort of the lowest base level in terms of class and culture and identity. I mean, she's been raped by her stepdad, and she ends up pregnant with HIV. I mean, that's a downer. You know, so yeah, going into this and you being like the very first image, drug deal going down, I'm thinking, okay, we're in for it again, but give it time. As it unfolds, ultimately, what this young man is seeking ultimately is love, which is something I think we all can connect to, and I certainly, you know, even though I choose not to make myself so vulnerable as an adult, I could see parts of myself in the different iterations of this young man's coming of age, and there's nothing tremendously graphic. I mean, there's some sex in it, you know, but it's done very tastefully, and you know, there's something that can be said about Barry. I mean, I think he really loves black people and the way we're photographed in the film and the choices of music and all that stuff. It's just you know, I felt like, you know, he was completely in control, and after a while I let down my guard and I allowed myself to feel on this one.
When you see films that deal with different subject matter, and someone has the sensitivity and the respect for that subject to present it in a respectful way, what you're going to gain from it, at the least, if you're human, on a human level, it's going to give you, for that moment in time you're watching this, the ability to walk in someone else's shoes.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the film, I think, is well rendered and well paced. I mean, I said, I think my hesitation one was I felt like, oh, you know, like as much as I love Medicine for Melancholy, the milieu that the world is in is so different from the bohemian black world that was depicted in Medicine for Melancholy, which was a heterosexual relationship in sort of like a bohemian black world, and then this is Miami, Liberty City, you know, sort of like a poor neighborhood where drugs are being dealt. So it's like a different milieu. Reminds me of another film that I would say is very similar to this. You'd have to seek this out, but and it'd be interesting if anybody has seen this movie. Share your thoughts in the comments. It was called Love is a Dog from Hell. In the theatrical release, it came out in about 1989, 1990, but it was released, I don't know if it's ever been released in the United States, but it was released in Europe as Crazy Love. And what it was, it's a very similar film, actually. It's 3 stories by Charles Bukowski, and if I remember correctly, it's the same character depicted through 3 different stages in his adolescence to adulthood. But, you know, well, I don't want to use the word affliction, but his issue, which causes his sensitivity, is he's got very bad acne. And that's something that Charles Bukowski suffered through as a young kid, you know. So, and at one point in the film, his face is completely wrapped in bandages, and it's sort of a very interesting coming of age. Welcome back, Barry Jenkins. Please don't take 8 more years to make another film, because I really think that you're a genius, and it's just great that.
How old is he?
I can see he's in his 30s now, but Love is That's For Melancholy was a long time ago.
It's wonderful to be back with this film and to tell this story from within, from inside. It is an extraordinary tale of ordinary people. It is not about any white saviors coming in to help us find water in a well. It's about how there is genius everywhere.
Tackling that.
I think the key word you used is a myth. Things are only real when people make them real. I'm a guy who's now traveling the world, and my movies go internationally because I believe that it could. I think that there's other actors of color that are doing the same things. Now, is there a diversity issue? Of course. But you don't break it down by focusing on the issue. You break it down by promoting the people that are moving in the right way.